Hello again. I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm going to title I Ace Jr. and the Phil. Here's why. In 1983, as I mentioned earlier, I went back to the Philippines and I studied high school in the mainland and modern private school of Cagayan de Oro. And I befriended 11 of the greatest guys I've ever known. And in high school, one of the biggest influence of our group is a small little boy named, you'll never guess it, his name is Big Boy. He was the smallest guy in the group, but for some reason his voice carried a lot of weight, a lot of influence. He was not designated the leader of the group. Nobody was. Everybody was equal, but I guess one is more influential than the other. Anyway, Big Boy came up with the name of our group. The I as in letter I, Ace as in, the flying ace, JR, Junior, the I Ace Junior. All of those letters are either, those are all first initials of our name. For example, his real name was not Big Boy, it was Emilio. And so that's what the I was, Emilio. And then the A was Ariel and Altimio, and C was Christopher, E was Edwin, and remember there were 12 of us, and of course the J, there were 2 of us Johns in the group. And so Big Boy came up with the name I Ace Jr. First it was named the Cold Fire Band. We even had a t-shirt printed where an ice cube was on fire. Kind of, I don't know how he came up with it, but supposedly the source of the fire was the ice cube. And on top of the ice cube was a flame, and on top of the flame was a skull on fire. And it was called the the Cold Fire Band. That's what it was named. The Cold Fire Band. And then later on it just died into the I Ace Jr. Until today, that is the name of the group, I Ace Jr. In fact, today, our kids still hang out with each other. And it seems like the tradition has continued. Anyway, the story is about the I Ace Jr. and the Phil, because this is really the point of the story. You see, the Phil was Philip Pirone, was an American Rotary exchange student from Farmingdale, Long Island. And it so happened that Phil's Rotary exchange student
in 500 feet keep left
was a classmate of mine in high school. And
in 0.2 miles turn right.
So me and Phil became friends.
In 500 feet, turn right.
Me and Phil became friends, and that's when the trouble began. For Phil, anyway. You see, I think Phil belonged to a prominent family, I think, in
0.2 miles, turn left.
In Long Island. I don't know why. Maybe it's just me, but I think most Rotary members are pretty high up, right?
In 0.1 miles, turn left.
So Phil had every intention of, doing good at school, studying. And if you remember,
drive 56
if you
miles,
realize that Phil was only, 15 and a half or 16 years old when he landed in the Philippines. I don't think Phil has seen anything, the poor side of town yet, even though he's from Long Island. He's from New York. I don't think he's seen what we've seen. But to make the story short, you see also another fact in the Philippines is there is no alcohol age limit. Imagine that. Anyone can go to the store and buy liquor, beer, liquor, whiskey, gin, whatever. It's customary for parents to ask their kids to go to the store and buy beer or liquor. That's just the way it is. I think it's the same in Europe when it comes to wine. I'm not sure. But so anyway, liquor in the Philippines is pretty easy to get. I mean, there's nothing to it. And so most of us kids starts drinking early in high school. And I don't think Phil had a drop of liquor or beer in his life before he came to the Philippines. So I guess Phil was initiated by my bad influence. And guess what else that is not all that highly regulated is the gentleman's club, naked dancing women. And if it was regulated, either I could bribe somebody or knew somebody who could get me in. Oh, can you imagine a 16-year-old Long Island kid going to titty bars, nudie bars? Phil just could not believe it. He said, I can't go in there. I said, why not? I'm only 16. I said, well, so what? So Phil went in, and I think he never came out the same. Yep. So Phil became one of us. He became the 13th. He went everywhere where we went. We climbed mountains, camping, getting drunk, and doing all kinds of stupid stuff. Because I remember Phil was a very, very picky eater. But when Phil landed in Camiguin Island, there was nothing there. The house was dark, there's no food. You ate whatever was on the table or you starved. I tell you what, Phil learned real quick to eat fish. You get it? Island fish. Fish for breakfast, fish for lunch, fish for dinner, fish for snacks. And I don't think I need to mention that Phil flunked all his classes in the university. I think he only went in once or twice. The rest of the time he was goofing off around with me. Until to this day, I feel responsible for Phil. Right, Phil? So Phil probably got yelled at by his parents, got yanked out of the Philippines earlier, and sent home to Long Island. And you should have seen the farewell party that we gave him. It wasn't a party really, it was more like a beating. We just beat him up. Our way of saying goodbye. We did give him one of our t-shirts, the printed t-shirts though. So Phil went back to Long Island, and that was that. This was back in 1987, I believe, 1988. And by 1990, that's when I came over. That's when I got my U.S. passport. That's when I became a U.S. citizen. And I came back here and I managed to trace Phil in Long Island. And we talk once in a while. But eventually we outgrown, got busy, and we drifted apart for, a good 15 years, I believe. And then Facebook came along, and there he was. Ace Jr. and the Phil showed up. I tried looking at him before that. Prior to that, I kept looking over there in Long Island. I was looking for him, you know, but I couldn't find him no more. It turns out he moved. Phil moved to Colorado, near Denver. And that's when Phil found my Facebook page. And I guess he works for Napa Auto Store now. Got 2 kids. Single dad. I wish me and him could afford to go back to the Philippines and have a grand reunion. That would be so nice. Recently, one of our members migrated to Australia. And by the grace of God, we're all about 45 years old. 46, I think, is the oldest. By the grace of God, we're all alive. No one has gone to jail. Everybody's married, got kids. And it would be so great if we could get together. I've always dreamed of possibly, like winning a lottery, and I would build a kind of like a subdivision, a big kind of a circle place. Imagine a round building, 12 or 13 houses in a circle, and the backyard will be shared with everybody, and it's a round backyard. So the center of the backyard would it'd be everybody's backyard, and I tell you, that would be so awesome to have a setup like that where all your best friends you're just neighbors, and then on weekends or in the afternoons, do your barbecuing and cooking, and kids playing right there by the backyard. And I've always prayed that our kids would continue the legacy. Well, I've got 5 kids of my own, and some of the members got 5 or 6 kids. I've lost touch with everybody's kids because I've been gone from the Philippines for about, year 2000, 13 years, almost going on 14. 13 years, because my dad died sometime in August, maybe, or he died in summer of 2000. So I've missed a lot. I've missed a lot of gatherings and friendships and fellowship. But anyway, can you imagine if each and every one of us had the average of 4 to 5 kids? And I think the eldest of the kid in our group is already married. Yep, he's married and got his own kid. So, in a certain way, we're all grand uncles. Imagine that. I've always thought that if there was anything in my life that I was so blessed with, is having 12 real good friends, best friends. The kind of friends that you stay together for life. even though we're worlds apart right now. But with the help of Facebook, it's almost as if time stood still. We can just pick up where we're left off. And that is the story of the IAs and the Phil. Philip Pirone. There's a lot more to that story, but gosh, trying to remember the details of the younger days is getting harder and harder each year. We'll catch you later. Peace.